The observatory was silent, save for the faint hum of machinery and the occasional beep of monitors tracking the cosmos. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat alone in the dimly lit control room, her eyes fixed on the array of screens before her. The glow of the displays cast an eerie light on her face, highlighting the faint lines of exhaustion etched into her features. She had been working for 18 hours straight, chasing a signal that had first appeared 3 nights ago, a signal that defied all conventional explanation. It was not the steady pulse of a pulsar, nor the chaotic burst of a gamma-ray flare. It was something else entirely. Something deliberate. The signal had originated from Earth's orbit, but it was not from any known satellite or space debris. It was old. Ancient, even. The frequency was unlike anything she had ever encountered, a haunting melody of mathematical precision that seemed to echo across the void. Evelyn had spent the last 3 days isolating the signal, filtering out the noise of the cosmos and amplifying its strange, otherworldly tones. And now, as she leaned closer to the screen, her breath caught in her throat. The signal was repeating, not randomly, but in a pattern that mirrored the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical code found in nature, art, and architecture. But this was no natural phenomenon. This was a message. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, her mind racing as she cross-referenced the signal with every database at her disposal. Nothing matched. Not NASA's archives, not the European Space Agency's records, not even the classified files she had accessed during her time at the Pentagon. This signal was a ghost, a phantom whispering secrets from the depths of space, and it was coming from something that shouldn't exist. The door to the control room hissed open, and Evelyn spun around, her heart pounding. A man stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the harsh fluorescent light of the corridor. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a commanding presence that made the room feel suddenly smaller. His face was angular, his eyes sharp and calculating, and he wore a dark suit that seemed to absorb the light around him. Evelyn recognized him instantly. Agent Marcus Hale. She had met him once before, years ago, during a classified briefing on extraterrestrial phenomena. He had been a shadow then, a figure who moved in the margins of the government's most secretive projects. And now he was here. "Dr. Carter," he said, his voice low and measured. "We need to talk." Evelyn's mind raced. How had he found her? How did he know about the signal? She had told no one, not even her colleagues at the International Space Research Institute. She had wanted to be sure, to have irrefutable proof before she brought her discovery to light. But now, as Agent Hale stepped into the room, she realized that she was no longer in control of the situation. He was. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice steady despite the unease coiling in her chest. Hale didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked over to the screens, his eyes scanning the data with a practiced ease. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device which he plugged into one of the terminals. The screens flickered, and a new set of data appeared. A series of coordinates, dates, and encrypted files. Evelyn's eyes widened as she recognized some of the entries. They were reports of unexplained phenomena, sightings of strange objects in the sky, and accounts of signals that had been intercepted and buried by governments around the world. And at the center of it all was a single, recurring name: the Black Knight. "You've found it," Hale said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Black Knight satellite. It's real." Evelyn's breath hitched. She had heard the stories, of course. The myths and conspiracy theories about an alien object orbiting Earth, a relic from a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. But she had always dismissed them as fantasy, the product of overactive imaginations and a desperate desire to believe in something greater. Yet here it was, staring her in the face. The signal, the coordinates, the evidence. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Where did it come from?" Hale hesitated, his expression unreadable. "We don't know, not for certain, but we believe it's been there for thousands of years, watching us, waiting, and now, for the first time, it's trying to communicate." Evelyn's mind reeled. Thousands of years? That would mean the satellite predated human civilization, predated even the earliest recorded history. It was impossible. And yet the evidence was undeniable. The signal, the patterns, the precision, It all pointed to an intelligence far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Why is it reaching out now?" Hale's eyes darkened, and for a moment he looked almost afraid. "We don't know, but we need to find out, and we need your help." Evelyn stared at him, her mind racing. She had spent her entire career searching for answers, for proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. And now, that proof was here, in her hands. But it came with a price. She could see it in Hale's eyes, in the tension that radiated from him like a coiled spring. This was not just a scientific discovery, it was a Pandora's box, a secret that could change everything. And once it was opened, there would be no going back. "What do you need me to do?" she asked, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. Hale leaned in closer, his eyes locking onto hers. "We need you to decode the signal, to find out what it's saying. And then, we need you to help us make contact." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Evelyn felt a shiver run down her spine. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for her entire life. The moment that would define her, and perhaps all of humanity. She took a deep breath, her mind made up. "I'll do it," she said, her voice firm, "but on one condition. No secrets, no lies. I need to know everything." Hale nodded, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Agreed, but be careful, Dr. Carter. The truth? It's not always what we want it to be." As he turned and walked out of the room, Evelyn felt a strange sense of foreboding settle over her. She had always believed that the pursuit of knowledge was a noble endeavor, a path to enlightenment. But now, as she stared at the signal on the screen, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the edge of an abyss, about to plunge into the unknown, and once she did, there would be no turning back. The Black Knight satellite was real, and it was calling. The room was a labyrinth of chaos, papers strewn across every surface, books piled high on chairs, and monitors glowing with lines of code and ancient texts. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood at the center of it all, her eyes bloodshot but alight with a fierce determination. The signal from the Black Knight satellite had consumed her every waking moment since Agent Marcus Hale's visit. It was no longer just a scientific curiosity. It was an obsession. The patterns in the signal, the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical precision, it all pointed to something far beyond human understanding. And now, as she pored over the latest batch of decrypted data, she felt the first glimmer of a connection that stretched back thousands of years. The door creaked open, and Professor Samuel Grant stepped inside, his arms laden with yet more books and scrolls. He was a tall, wiry man with a shock of white hair and eyes that sparkled with the curiosity of a lifelong scholar. Evelyn had called him in as soon as she realized the signal's patterns mirrored those found in ancient Sumerian texts. Grant was one of the few people in the world who could decipher the cuneiform script, and his expertise had already proven invaluable. "You're not going to believe this," Evelyn said, her voice trembling with excitement as she handed him a printout of the latest decryption. "The signal isn't just repeating the Fibonacci sequence, it's embedding it within a larger code, a code that matches the structure of the Epic of Gilgamesh." Grant's eyebrows shot up as he scanned the document. "The Epic of Gilgamesh? Are you sure?" "Positive," Evelyn replied, her heart racing. "Look at this section here. The sequence aligns perfectly with the description of the gods who descended from the heavens. And here, this part mirrors the instructions for building the ziggurats, the ancient temples that were said to reach the sky." Grant's eyes widened as he followed her finger across the page. "By the gods." "Evelyn, this isn't just a coincidence. This is a direct correlation. The signal is referencing these texts. But how? The Epic of Gilgamesh is over 4,000 years old. How could a satellite orbiting Earth know about it?" Evelyn's mind raced with possibilities. What if it's not just referencing the texts? What if it's the source? What if the stories of the gods descending from the heavens, the ziggurats, the ancient knowledge, what if it all came from the Black? Grant stared at her, his expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. "You're suggesting that the satellite is responsible for the myths and legends of ancient civilizations? That it's been influencing humanity for thousands of years?" "Yes," Evelyn said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And if that's true, then it's not just an alien artifact. It's a teacher, a guide, and it's been trying to communicate with us all along. The implications were staggering. If the Black Knight satellite was indeed the source of ancient knowledge, then humanity's entire history would need to be rewritten. The myths, the religions, the scientific advancements, all of it could be traced back to this enigmatic object orbiting Earth. But why? What was its purpose? And why had it chosen now to reveal itself? As if on cue, the door opened again, and Lena Morales stepped inside. She was a petite woman with sharp features and an air of quiet intensity. A linguist and cryptographer by trade, Lena had been brought in to help decode the satellite's transmissions. Her expertise in ancient languages and symbolic systems had already yielded breakthroughs, and Evelyn had come to rely on her keen intellect. "I've got something," Lena said, her voice tinged with excitement as she handed Evelyn a tablet. "I ran the latest signal through a new algorithm and it picked up something we missed. There's a secondary layer to the code, a kind of meta-language that's embedded within the primary sequence. It's incredible." Evelyn's heart skipped a beat as she scanned the tablet. The secondary layer was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was a complex web of symbols and patterns, each one representing a different concept or idea. Some of the symbols matched those found in ancient Sumerian texts, while others were completely alien. But together they formed a coherent message, a message that seemed to be addressed directly to humanity. "What does it say?" Evelyn asked, her voice trembling with anticipation. Lena hesitated, her eyes scanning the symbols. It's a warning and an invitation. The satellite is telling us that it's been watching us, guiding us for thousands of years. But now, something is coming. Something dangerous. And it wants us to be ready. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Dangerous? What kind of danger? Lena shook her head. "I don't know. The message isn't specific, but it's clear that the satellite sees itself as a protector, a guardian, and it's reaching out to us now because it believes we're finally capable of understanding its message." Grant leaned in closer, his eyes narrowing as he studied the symbols. "This changes everything. If the satellite is warning us of a threat, then we need to take it seriously. But how? We don't even know what we're dealing with." Evelyn's mind raced as she tried to piece together the puzzle. The satellite, the ancient texts, the warning, it all pointed to a larger narrative, a story that had been unfolding for millennia, but there were still too many missing pieces, too many questions left unanswered, and time was running out. "We need to go deeper," she said, her voice firm. "We need to find out everything we can about the satellite's origins, its purpose, and the threat it's warning us about. And we need to do it fast." Grant nodded, his expression grim. "I'll start cross-referencing the symbols with other ancient texts. If the satellite has been influencing humanity for thousands of years, then there must be other clues hidden in our history." Lena turned to Evelyn, her eyes filled with determination. "We'll keep working on the secondary layer. There's more to this message. I can feel it. And I won't stop until I've uncovered every last detail." Evelyn felt a surge of gratitude for her colleagues. They were in uncharted territory, facing a mystery that defied all logic and reason, but together, they were making progress, and with each new discovery, they were getting closer to the truth. As the hours turned into days, the team worked tirelessly, driven by a shared sense of purpose and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. The signal from the Black Knight satellite was no longer just a scientific anomaly, it was a beacon, a call to action, and Evelyn knew that they were on the brink of something monumental, something that would change the course of human history. But as she delved deeper into the mystery, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the satellite, with its ancient, unknowable intelligence, was observing their every move, and that whatever was coming, whatever danger it was warning them about, was closer than they realized. The Black Knight satellite was more than just a relic of the past. It was a harbinger of the future. And Evelyn knew that the answers they sought would come at a price. But she was ready. She had to be, because the fate of humanity depended on it. The air inside the spacecraft was cold, sterile, and heavy with the weight of anticipation. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat strapped into her seat, her gloved hands gripping the armrests as the engines roared to life beneath her. The vibrations rattled through her bones, a constant reminder of the enormity of what she was about to do. She was no astronaut, no seasoned space traveler. She was a scientist, a dreamer, a woman who had spent her life chasing the stars from the safety of Earth. But now, as the countdown ticked away, she was about to leave the confines of her world and venture into the unknown. The Black Knight satellite was waiting. The mission had been rushed, cobbled together in a matter of weeks after the revelations about the satellite's ancient connection and its cryptic warning. Governments around the world had poured resources into the project, their fear of the unknown outweighing their usual bureaucratic inertia. Agent Marcus Hale had been the driving force behind it all, pulling strings and calling in favors to ensure that Evelyn and her team had everything they needed. But even he couldn't shield them from the risks. The satellite was a mystery, a relic of a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity, and now they were about to come face to face with it. The spacecraft shuddered as it broke through the atmosphere, the force of the ascent pressing Evelyn into her seat. She closed her eyes, focusing on her breathing, trying to steady her racing heart. She thought of Professor Samuel Grant and Lena Morales back on Earth, poring over the latest data and waiting for her signal. They had done everything they could to prepare her for this moment, but there was no way to truly prepare for the unknown. The satellite was out there, silent and enigmatic, its dark silhouette a stark contrast against the infinite blackness of space. When the spacecraft finally stabilized, Evelyn unstrapped herself and floated toward the observation window. The sight took her breath away. Earth hung in the distance, a vibrant blue orb teeming with life, while the void of space stretched out in every direction, vast and unyielding. And there, just a few kilometers away, was the Black Knight satellite. It was larger than she had imagined, its surface a patchwork of strange, angular shapes and metallic panels that seemed to shift and shimmer in the faint light of the sun. It was ancient, that much was clear, but it was also impossibly advanced, a testament to a technology that defied human comprehension. Evelyn's communicator crackled to life, and Agent Hale's voice filled the cabin. "Dr. Carter, do you read me? Loud and clear," Evelyn replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "I'm approaching the satellite now." "Be careful," Hale said, his tone uncharacteristically somber. "We don't know what we're dealing with. If anything goes wrong—" "I know the risks," Evelyn interrupted, "but we need answers, and this is the only way to get them." She maneuvered the spacecraft closer to the satellite, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the controls. The satellite loomed larger with every passing second, its presence both awe-inspiring and unnerving. As she drew nearer, she noticed something strange. A series of symbols etched into its surface, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. They were the same symbols Lena had deciphered, the ones that had formed the satellite's warning, but there was more to them now, a depth and complexity that suggested they were part of a larger system, a language that transcended human understanding. Evelyn activated the spacecraft's external cameras and began transmitting the data back to Earth. "Do you see this?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "The symbols, they're alive. They're responding to my presence." "We see it," Grant's voice came through, tinged with excitement. "It's as if the satellite recognizes you, Evelyn. It's trying to communicate." Evelyn's heart raced as she guided the spacecraft closer, her eyes fixed on the symbols. They seemed to pulse with a rhythmic energy, as if they were part of a living, breathing entity. And then, without warning, the satellite's surface shifted, the panels sliding apart to reveal a dark, gaping maw. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat as she realized what it was. An entrance. "I'm going in," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Evelyn, wait," Hale began, but she cut him off. "This is why I'm here," she said firmly, "to find the truth. And I'm not turning back now." With a deep breath, she guided the spacecraft into the opening, the darkness swallowing her whole. The interior of the satellite was unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls were lined with intricate patterns that glowed with a soft, ethereal light, and the air was thick with a strange, metallic scent. It was both beautiful and alien, a place that existed outside the bounds of human experience. As she ventured deeper, the spacecraft's sensors began picking up unusual readings. fluctuations in energy, strange gravitational waves, and a faint, almost imperceptible hum that seemed to resonate through the very fabric of the satellite. And then she saw it. At the center of the structure was a massive chamber, its walls covered in the same glowing symbols she had seen outside, but here they were arranged in a way that suggested a purpose, a design, and in the center of the chamber was a pedestal, upon which rested a single object, a crystalline sphere, pulsating with a soft blue light. Evelyn's heart pounded as she approached the sphere, her every instinct screaming at her to be cautious, but she couldn't help herself. This was it, the key to understanding the satellite, its purpose, its message. She reached out, her gloved hand trembling as it hovered over the sphere, and then, with a deep breath, she touched it. The moment her hand made contact, the chamber erupted in light. The symbols on the walls flared to life, their glow intensifying until the entire space was bathed in a blinding radiance. Evelyn stumbled back, her mind reeling as a flood of images and sensations overwhelmed her. She saw ancient civilizations rising and falling, stars being born and dying, and a vast interconnected network of intelligence stretching across the cosmos. And through it all, there was a voice, a deep, resonant voice that spoke not in words but in feelings, in ideas. "We are the Watchers," the voice said, its presence filling her mind. "We have watched over your world since the dawn of your kind, guiding you, teaching you, preparing you for the trials to come. But now, the time of testing is near. The darkness approaches, and you must be ready." Evelyn's vision cleared, and she found herself back in the chamber, the light fading as quickly as it had come. The sphere was dark now, its energy spent. But the message was clear. The Black Knight satellite was not just a relic of the past, it was a guardian, a sentinel placed here by an ancient, advanced civilization to prepare humanity for a coming threat. And now, it had chosen her to carry its warning. As she made her way back to the spacecraft, her mind raced with the implications of what she had learned. The satellite's message was not just a warning, it was a call to action. Humanity was being tested, and the stakes were higher than anyone had imagined. But there was hope. The satellite had chosen her, trusted her with its secrets, and now it was up to her to share them with the world. When she finally returned to Earth, she was met with a mixture of awe and disbelief. The data she had collected, the images, the recordings, it was all there, irrefutable proof of the satellite's existence and its message. But it was the story she told, the experience she shared, that truly captured the world's imagination. The Black Knight satellite was real, and it had a purpose. As she stood before the gathered scientists, politicians, and journalists, Evelyn felt a sense of resolve settle over her. The road ahead would be difficult, fraught with challenges and uncertainties, but she knew that humanity was capable of greatness. The satellite had seen it, believed in it, and now it was up to them to prove it. The truth had been unveiled, and with it, a new chapter in human history had begun.